undetermined. We're still cutting this song short. It's the Purple Rock Survivor Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Purple Rock Podcast. I am your host, Andy, and with me this week is your favorite co-host, Matt. Matt, welcome to the podcast. It's been too long.
Thanks for introducing me in such complimentary fashion, but true. It's very, very true.
Yeah, let's just get right into it because I'm not good with the intros.
Yeah.
How'd you like the episode?
I liked it all right. It's, engaging enough. I like that, we're getting a bit more to know about the cast. That's really all we care about with the first couple episodes. There's certainly no intrigue so far. It's, it's pretty straightforward. They can try to make some suspense out of it, but the season preview gave that away. So who cares?
Yeah, see, the trick is to just not pay attention to that stuff, even when it's playing.
Yep.
And thus, you can still have some mystery involved because I actually still don't know what people are talking about. Like, I get what they're saying. They're saying that Marianne was featured in a scene that is yet to happen, and I believe them. I just have no memory of it. And when we're not talking season preview so much as like the very first part of the episode. This isn't like, extra material. So, I agree with everybody that this is complete unforced errors. I'm just, lucky enough that I didn't retain any of it.
To be fair, I was kind of buttering myself up. I didn't either. I just wanted to come off like a big man.
They really shouldn't do it because there's no added value to showing those scenes either. But yeah, I can't front. I was like, oh yeah, I actually thought it was a 50-50 shot when they were saying it could be Marianne, it could be Mariah. I'm like, yeah, right. I'm not sure which one. And in fact, when they showed the votes, when they wrote Mary, I knew they were being slick and that they both spelled that way. But I'm like, do these people really know the weird way that Mariah spells her name? Apparently they all did. Yeah. Which only happens, she had to have told them. But as I said, I don't know if I agree with that move. I don't know if I don't think it'll protect you that somebody wouldn't write your name down out of fear of spelling it wrong. But just, you don't have to put that in their head. People be like, and how you spell that? You don't need to know that.
Yeah,
I'll let you know on day 25 how to spell my name.
If someone asked me how I spelled my name, first of all, I'd have serious questions for them because my name's pretty easy to spell. But second of all, I'd get really suspicious very quick.
Yeah. Hey, no reason. You definitely don't need to play your shot in the dark, Mariah, but just how do you spell that? It's a unique name. And not, a name of one of the biggest pop stars in the entire world. Yeah, I like this episode too. And for the listeners at home, you can tell both me and Matt are really heavily invested in it because each time we've said we've liked it, our voices have gone up like 3 octaves. Oh, I like it. Yeah, I like it. No, I did like it more than last week, which I want to be
felt
clear.
the same way.
I didn't dislike last week. It was just like, okay. And I think this week, to the point I think you were getting at, was a little bit more okay. Because, we really aren't getting into the plot yet. But I do like the foundation. And yes. I do think there was less filler this week. In part, it was, 42 minutes versus twice that much. I couldn't do that math in my head right there. 84? Yes. There are 11 triangles. But, so yeah, I thought it was good. I am getting to know more of the people a bit more.
Yep.
I still feel like for a lot of them, it's just still surface level, which is fine. We're at the beginning.
Yeah.
These are often just podcast problems in that there's nothing I'm particularly excited to talk about tonight. I don't know that people will be hearing me raise my voice as much, but I'm sure you guys are all looking at like, stop lying to me. You're going to talk enough. You guys know how long this podcast is. I don't know yet, but I suspect when it's all said and done and mostly said, it'll be a normal podcast length. So what it does do, though, for me, is it makes it difficult to write a breakdown because I always like to lead off with a hot topic. Like, what's the thing we're going to spend a lot of time on? I don't know if there was one, so let's just go with the obvious. Did Taku make the right decision? Once again, of course, a unanimous vote. So we're talking about everybody's decision here. Should they have? Did they make the right call getting rid of Mariah, or should they have gotten rid of Marianne?
Sure, why not? Like, who the heck knows? It's 2 episodes.
I know that's the other problem. I don't care. It's the first vote. If everything hinges on this, you probably have bigger problems.
I mean, not only is it the first time this tribe has voted, but like we don't actually know who's going to be more loyal to them. Like between these two, like we don't know who's going to, flip to another side. We don't know who's going to be a danger at the end of the game. You could say like, well, Marianne's so nice, everyone's going to like her. Or you could say that Mariah is going to get a big sympathy vote because her brother was the first person to die of COVID, the first healthcare worker to die of COVID in the US. A lot of qualifiers there I had to, put down. But yeah, I mean, so like, who knows? We don't know. Like, there's nothing obvious one way or the other that would make us say like, oh, that was a great decision, or oh, that was a terrible decision. Which is why it's so hard to talk about this episode, right? Because it's like, yeah, that was a decision. It seems fine.
Well argued, counselor. But let's ask it a different way here. If you were on that tribe, knowing, of course, obviously all you know is the, I don't know, 30 minutes we've gotten out of it in about 3 episodes worth of time. What would your choice have been? What do you think you would have chosen?
Oh, I would have voted out Marianne.
Yeah, me too.
For the same reason as you, because I know myself well enough to know that her attitude would drive me insane after more than 6 days. So
yeah, frankly, probably the thing I want to talk about most is that my take last week, which I think a lot of people agreed with, but I did get some pushback, which means it's a good take. Was that, man, she's a bit much. And every member of her tribe said it. So I'm like, see, I'm not just a curmudgeon. Note that I said I'm not just a curmudgeon. It's not the same thing as saying I'm not a curmudgeon. But yeah, just it's a lot of energy. So for me, and to be fair, we don't know really enough about Mariah, which I think is the issue. But for me, it's just like I can't do that. I can't do 26 days. I think there's also a good argument to be made that like, and they were making it, that do you trust Mariah as an alliance partner in the sense of like, when things go down, will she be able to handle it? When it's time for something sneaky, do we feel like she could hide her intentions at all? You saw her tribal council just shaking like a leaf. I think this is why she is on the show, and why she is, I think, the person everybody's responding to most, is that it's all out there. There's nothing behind, and so for me, it's like, but if I'm trying to do something, tricky, I just can't have that. I know my limits. Now the flip side is, if she,
you don't want someone who hides it too well.
What's that?
You don't. I mean, the flip side is you don't want someone who hides it too well, because then they could hide it from you.
Yes, I feel like if Marianne was ever going to do something against me, I'm gonna know. So that could be helpful. It's just and if it was with a lower energy, then I think maybe that was good, because I think that's probably the issue with Mariah, is she played things too close to the vest, and people didn't know. And I think when it came down to the decision, I think a lot of them were like, honestly, it's either one. I don't really care, kind of like how we were. But the flip side is like, but I like Marianne, and I just like, Mariah seems nice, but
yeah. And the other thing about it is that yes, Marianne is a lot. I thought that her energy was a little bit toned down from the first couple of days, which is what I would expect as you are slowly starving on an island. Mm-hmm. So if that is the actual trend, it might be that like she would then like kind of land into the tolerable zone for me after a bit.
The issue though is you are also losing energy the whole way, right? So it might not be that she'll ever get to your level, because your levels are going down too.
Oh, I wouldn't expect her to ever get to my level. I'm expecting her to get into a level that I then would not. Yeah. And here's the thing. Some people, especially on this, like, you need that kind of energy to kind of get you through that. Like, even if you don't have it, seeing someone else have it can kind of motivate you, get you up, help like entertain you throughout the day. Like, there's a value to like having an entertainer on the tribe, because those days are really boring and really long.
And I get the impression that was kind of what Jonathan was getting at.
I think so.
He likes having her around. He understands the issues people are having with her, and he probably had some himself, but like for him, he probably feeds off that energy. And it's important to note, Mariah aside, most people on reality television are extroverted. That's the thing with us. We view it all this like, yeah, that's why I wouldn't be on Survivor. Like, I'd be just a terrible
Yes.
Survivor player because, like, even like I can critique Mariah for not, putting herself out there enough, and that's not just an absence of the edit. She's like diagnosed that in her own self that like
Yeah.
it took her a while. I'm the same way. I need some time to warm up to people, and that you don't get that time. Maybe
No,
I
you
get
gotta
it,
hit the
just
ground
benefit
running.
of all the privilege I have in life. And if like, we're not going to vote him, but maybe not anymore, right? So yeah, it's like introverts like me. Yes, I would have difficulty vibing with Marianne, but I wouldn't be out there in the first place.
Yeah, no, and yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, that's the other thing. Like, if you're an introvert, someone like Marianne might be tougher to deal with than if you're another extrovert who it's like, yeah, these are the people I interact with all the time.
And I also wonder because Taku is a more mature tribe besides Marianne, so that also could just be a wavelength thing. Maybe on Ica with the three young people that didn't want to do chores or whatever, she might be more fun to them. And again, like Taku likes her, she's still in the game, but yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, one interesting thing about kind of like what looks to be the core three on Taku is that they're all within 2 years of each other. So they're all very close in age. So
Yeah. All right. So they decide to go with Mariah, and she knows it. She plays her shot in the dark. So that is 2 for 2. The two votes. We both have shots in the dark played. Obviously, the odds aren't great, so neither of them worked out. But like, what do we make of the fact that both times we've gone to tribal council, the target has known it and played it? This is a stark contrast to last year.
yeah, so I think there's a couple things that might be contributing here, and it's hard to actually say which one it is. It could be just very.
The important thing in this is just pretend like we know things. And
Yeah, but I'm a lawyer, so I just qualify everything. No, I mean, like, we don't know if the reason why they're playing that is because everyone's being just super obvious about who the boot out is. That's like, that could be the reason. It could be like that people are just not hiding it well, or it could be the reason that like people value short-term survival over long-term gain. I think one of the things you saw last year was everyone talking about playing it and then not doing it because they're like, I could use this later, which this year is like the opposite feeling. So then, that's just kind of a gameplay strategy. That's a personality thing. And I don't think that has anything to do with how, the information that they're getting is different. I think that's really kind of about just, your risk aversion or not.
Yeah, I do think there might be something to that. These people aren't doing as good a job as the people last season of making everybody feel included. Shan certainly, who went to tribal council a lot in the beginning. Everybody thought they were on Team Shan as she was sending him out the door. So I think that really helps. Whereas, like, it was clear in Taku at least that like both Marianne and Mariah knew it was one of them.
Yeah.
So. And that could just be the straight numbers game of losing Jackson straight ahead, and thus, we could tell these three are tight, so it's got to be one of us. With Ica, yeah, it's weird that Zach knew because it felt like that one felt like there were a lot more in flux, and
that one really felt like it was going to be Tori if you hadn't seen the season preview. But yeah,
or didn't remember it in my case,
or didn't remember it,
even though it was literally like an hour and a half prior, just.
A lot happened in that time.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I just didn't care when the preview was going. Like, yeah, I'm watching the show, Jeff. Let's get on to it. I was probably more focused on Jeff and if he was going to do stupid shit, because then that's fun for me. Right. But like previewing, it's an extension at this point. I don't care who these people are yet. Once they step on that mat, they become Survivor players to me, and thus people to pay attention to. And prior to that, they are nothing. Yeah. So I do think there might be something there. I also wonder if this group is just adjusting to it better, which there's no reason they should. It was sprung on them just as it was sprung on the 41s. But we see, and this could just be in the storytelling, that like not only are the people, like we always got people were considering playing the shot in the dark. We never really got a lot of worrying what happened to somebody, and we saw it this week. Is that like both they were like, oh, we got to make Marianne and Mariah feel comfortable so that they don't play the shot in the dark. And I wonder just that is what helps point the target, because people are bad at acting. It's like, oh, you're totally safe tonight, Mariah. Nothing could ever possibly go wrong. And then maybe they're tipping their hand.
Maybe, but I do think there was some bits last year where people were like, oh, we have to keep them from playing the shot in the dark, especially early on in the game, because like the tribes are so small early on. These are, 6-person, 5-person. Now there's a 4-person tribe. So there's just like, yeah, there's not a lot of room to hide. Of course, your name is on the block. So of course you're gonna, play the shot in the dark. And I think one thing that I remember last year was being amazed that it was played only once.
Yeah.
And like that shocked me because that, to me, that was crazy. And I mean, maybe that was a case of they just were voting out all the terrible game players early on when like the odds really dictated that you should play it, which there might have been some, there might be some value to that one, but I don't know. Like, yeah, I don't know why it's happening this season, but yeah, like they could be tipping their hands or it could just be risk averse people.
Yeah. And it's obviously too small a sample size to really tell. It could just be that these 2 votes were like more traditional type votes than some of the early ones last season, right? It's the weakest guy in the first tribe. It's the oldest woman in this tribe. So people that would naturally feel like they would be targets, whereas like Brad last season isn't going to feel like he's a target.
No. JD's never going to feel like he's a target.
Sorry, who?
JD.
Yeah, vote J. I would say the first boot, but I'll be honest, I don't remember who that was.
Me neither.
Yeah. When they were talking about like we have to put them at ease so they don't play the shot in the dark, a thought I had is you should put the person you're not voting for not at ease, because to get them to waste the shot in the dark would actually be pretty good. You'd have to do it. It would take some finesse, because at the end they need to feel like, oh man, I screwed that up. I had no reason to think it. And you're like, hey, why'd you do that? We were all on your side. So you'd really have to gaslight them well. But that would be like a really good play, because they're not going to have that shot in the dark later on. And like even more masterful play is later in the season if it's an otherwise close vote and they don't have a vote. So like that, like I think now that we've seen it a little bit, actually being used, not being used, like I still think there's life in this thing.
Yes. I will say it is interesting that over the course of 2 seasons, everyone who's played it has been the target. Mm-hmm. Like everyone has correctly diagnosed that, which would make me lean towards like people are tipping their hands in these situations. Like, we're not getting the full story about how obvious these are, because there's been 3 shot in the darks played, 3 times it didn't work. And those 3 people all went home.
Yeah, no, I need to see some fail. One question I have, and I don't know if it'll ever be answered because I don't know this scenario, is like, can you only play it on the first vote? Because I wonder if you
on
get
the
to
revote?
a revote scenario and you're like, I'm going to take my shot in the dark now because I know I'm the second person. Like, say the first one succeeds.
Yeah.
And then I wonder if like Marianne could play that.
So this is why I would say no, because you don't get a vote when you're one of the targets on a revote.
But in this scenario, she wasn't going to be a target. There was none, right? Unanimous for Mariah. There was no other vote because Mariah didn't have one. In this case, everybody would be voting.
That's a fair point.
Maybe Mariah, because she already lost her vote.
Yeah, I don't. Okay, well, now we're pretty deep into the weeds, and I have no idea.
Yeah, no, there's no way to know. I don't believe it was on any parchment or anything. It's possible they didn't think. Yeah, didn't know. Typically on second votes you can't do things like you can't play an idol,
right?
But this is a little different, so I wonder.
Let me ask you a question about
why I wonder that is then why, like, who cares if Mariah got it right? Then it's just like, okay, fine, Marianne. You need one of them not to play it, although frankly if they both play it, it is highly unlikely that they're gonna both get it.
So one thing I do wonder, though, about the shot in the dark is, we're seeing a lot of like twists in 41 and 42. And I think we can expect a lot of these to not stick around because their impact won't be there if they're, if you do them once people know about them. So like the secret phrases are an example of one where once people actually know those are happening, I think its impact is lessened as much as
I do think people won't take that beware advantage.
Yes, exactly. But the shot in the dark doesn't really rely on that. So do you think the shot in the dark will keep coming back in future seasons?
I don't see any reason why. Yeah, I don't think you need to fool the players with this one. You can come in, frankly, calculating some of these strategies that I'm talking about, and I think it could take it into some interesting places. So yeah, no, I think
agree.
it can stick. I think it'll stick around a while. If it goes, it'll just be like that. It's nothing. Like it's not adding anything to the show.
Yeah.
I don't see it really ever subtracting anything from the show. So and I'll just say, like, I like it. I think it's a little wrinkle and a more equitable distribution of these, idol type things. One of the problems that people diagnose with modern Survivor is like too much power gets centralized in the people who are just lucky enough for the most part. Sometimes there's some skill, especially people who have found an idol before will have a better chance of finding another idol.
Yes.
But yeah, it just gets so randomly dispersed to different people. Well, then let's make it completely random. My biggest problem with the shot in dark, of course, is that it's a fucking dice that doesn't get rolled.
Yeah. Roll the die, Jeff. Roll the die.
So that is an innovation I'd like to see. Not so much rolling the dice, because I've theorized that they don't do that because they don't want people hearing it from 4 feet away from the on the crafts table there.
What
Just
they
don't
should
make
do
it a
is,
dice, make it a coin, man.
No, what they should do is they should take the die back with them to when they sit down and then roll it in front of everyone.
Yes, and then
that's what they should do.
Image
And
on the die.
Yeah. And then everyone there is like,
And that would be exciting. We get to see it roll, and then like maybe it rolls.
Jeff,
into
call
like
me.
A,
You can
like
have
a
this
hole
one for free.
on the, the woody floor that they have. Like,
Yeah, Jeff, call me. You can have this one for free.
We're just improving this show left and right. Sticking with that tribe. How are you feeling about the Jonathan and Omar pairing?
I really liked it. That's one of the reasons I really like this episode. Like it's good to you get to know people, but I really like to get to know like alliances and pairings of people. Yeah, everyone always talks about JT and Steven. Because they're like a great kind of, two very dissimilar people meeting and form a great alliance. And like Jonathan and Omar give off a lot of that vibe too. A Canadian and a Alabaman.
So who's the Canadian? I know Marianne's one.
Omar,
okay. Again, so people know I really came in with no knowledge, not even who my people are. Well, there you go. 2 favorite players right there. Is it just 2? I've heard that.
I think it's 2. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's all.
Waiting. I'm
waiting. Oh no, we got a third. Drea is also Canadian.
45.
No, we got
the Battle of North America.
But we got Drea. Drea's from Montreal.
Oh, look at that. We're taking over.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. You've kind of probably just completely scraped away all the talent in the United States. So you had to come to our country.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
The potential Survivor talent has been stripped mined clean like it's a beach on Survivor. We'll get to that later. I really dug them. Last week I complained a bit. Complained? I don't know if that's the word. Mentioned, identified as a potential issue. It was the metatextual stuff was going just a little too far. I do think in comments we actually diagnosed it well, is that it was too much about how people loved the show, which felt self-serving, and I think maybe that might have been bothering me. This week with the Jonathan and Omar pairing, this is the kind of metatextual stuff I like, and that they're both kind of identifying that like their odd couple pairing has been a successful dynamic on the show because it's about them and what they are doing and how they're interacting, less about I'm so excited, I'm the luckiest person ever to be on the greatest TV show in the history of TV. Right. So yeah, I do like that. I like how they both kind of recognized it. There might have been a couple flaws here, like does Omar need a meat shield? Or generally the meat part of the shield is you want somebody meatier than you. I don't know if anybody's be like, oh, I'm not sure which of these threats to deal with, Omar or Jonathan.
It does actually. I've really been wondering with Jonathan, because he like seems like the only super athletic person on this season. I mean, and that's not fair. Like there are other people that I'm sure are athletic in different ways, but like Jonathan is like the type of athletic that used to get targeted all the time. And he's the only one on this season of that, like, stereotypical type of athletic that gets targeted. If there's only one, do they actually get targeted? Like, are they suddenly, are they even a target anymore? Or is it people like Omar, who everyone perceives as being like strategic, smart threats, Yeah,
in which case they'd be like, hey, don't worry, he's going to win every challenge. And I'm like, no. That's actually one thing I'd like to see at the rise of the super fan, is for them to be like, that guy never wins all the challenges. We'll be fine.
Yeah, he'll lose.
His tribe has already lost 2 people, although again, one of those really not his fault. But this
Right.
one maybe a bit. I mean, he was the person solving the puzzle. It was a pretty close match throughout, though.
Yeah.
And I do wonder for that challenge specifically, with the way that puzzle was, it wasn't a particularly complicated one, if the direction was as important as people just kind of feeling the pieces, because we saw a lot of that with the blindfolded people.
Yeah. I kind of think that the feeling was more important, but
so then it made sense for, like, say, Jenny to be on the puzzle versus
right.
Anyway, I really enjoyed that moment too. The stuff like that, we got a lot of different interpersonal stuff on this episode that I think worked well because it was in service to the characters in the story and not just in service to the show itself. Let's move on to another tribe. Smooth transition here. Over in Body, we get the return of the Beware Advantage. Spoiled. Oh yeah, I guess that's a scene, huh? That we still have to find it in another tribe, and somebody's going to be there to hear about it.
That's right.
I think I might have forgotten who all those people were involved already. Anyway, Tori, I believe that's what we were talking about.
Yes.
There we go. I remember that because I got the names written down here. No, I got actually another advantage is with the distribution of airtime. I do know most of the names already. So.
I think so. Yeah.
What do we think about it coming back? We saw it play out in the last season, and now we're here again.
I like the Beware Advantage. I think it works now when they don't know what it's about. Mm-hmm. I like the goofy phrases. I find them very amusing, and I like how people try to scheme around it. The one thing I don't like is the fact that everyone sees it as a threat to them if they don't have it. When my whole point last year was if you're the ally of the person with an idol, your alliance has the idol. That's a good thing. Those get played not just on that person, but on you, which is what we saw happen with Xander last season. So the fact that, Mike finds this, is, him taking it. Okay, first of all, him finding it, going, I'm going to play this really safe. I'm going to be careful. And then he sees it. He's like, oh, beware. I have to make a choice. Well, I didn't come here to, I came here to go for it.
Take it easy. What? And it's a lot of that this season so far. People seemingly very quickly contradicting their own, ideas and that, and I'm here for it. Keep it up.
Yeah, look, I mean, you can't change your personality. You can't hide who you are on Survivor. So you could say that oh, I'm going to act this way. But if you're not that way, it's not going to last. So,
so we see with Daniel that his strategy is to keep it out of the hands of Mike. And your objection is, but have it in the hands of an alliance partner.
Yeah. I mean, now look, if your strategy is to keep it out of the hands of Mike so that you can get it, I could see some purpose to that. If you hear one activation phrase go off, but not the third one, then you're thinking, oh, if we vote out Mike now, that will get rehidden, and then I can find it, and there's only going to be one more other person to find it.
Right. Obviously, the flip side to that is it could get rehidden, and somebody else in your alliance that doesn't run and tell you about it gets it.
Or someone that's not in your alliance can get it.
Oh, yeah, I meant, sorry, yeah, your tribe, right? Not necessarily your
right.
alliance.
That's
now,
the thing,
obviously, you will then know if Hi or Lydia or something says it out loud, but knowing that, oh crap, I don't have it is not the same thing as knowing Mike, a guy who wants me to make the decisions for him, has it.
Yeah. Again, Mike is begging you to make the decisions for him. If he has an idol, you're deciding where that idol goes.
Yeah. Now, obviously, the unique properties of the Beware Advantage is if keeping Mike from activating it also means that all these other people you don't know at all don't have an active idol as well.
Yes.
So I do like that thinking. I do think, though, that there's a shelf life. When Daniel's if I can keep it from ever getting activated, it's if Mike hears those other 2 phrases, he's going to say his phrase despite what you say.
Yes.
I do like the idea, though, of not doing it right away.
Me too.
Second episode cycle. It's unlikely that somebody 2 other ones are found in that time. And yeah, you should be able to say it. It'd just be funny. This is another reason why it'd be tough to do in a season later. The first off being once weird phrases are being said, game over. but also what if everybody takes that approach? And so we just get a bunch of people waiting for somebody else to get to the dance floor first.
Yep. Yeah.
Which would be actually really incredible, and I hope it happens. But
God, yeah, no, that would be so great if there's 3 people that have it and they're all like, oh no, I'm gonna be I'm gonna wait till one other person says it, and then and everyone's thinking that, and so it just doesn't get said.
Yeah.
And then they find out about it afterwards at the merch.
Yeah. Another thing I was thinking about with Mike is that his phrase, I think, is a lot easier to work into like conversation than say Xander's was last season.
Yes.
But much harder to say more than once.
Yes.
Xander had that thing of like, man, I was so out of it, I'm saying weird things. And it's like, well, Mike's actually isn't that weird. I just don't know why you would ever say it twice in your life,
Right. Though apparently Mike thinks it would be quite difficult to say because he hates soccer so much.
Well, it just makes you cry.
Yeah.
I would say another thing
game.
about going in, like, Danielle shouldn't worry too much about Mike getting it. It's like, are you really that afraid of like being masterminded by a guy who keeps losing his own shit? How great was that? That was amazing.
Mike losing the idol was something I could totally see myself doing. Just like, oh, I placed it here. Where is it? Oh man. And then like you're just looking all over for it. It's like losing your keys. Roughly where it is, but trying to find them. I mean, come on.
I'm gonna say it is a thought I've had. Yes. It's like when people are hiding, because you can't hide it in too obvious a space.
No.
But if you hide it in a non-obvious space, what's your marker? But if you don't, you need some kind of landmark, which he thought he had. It's where 2 paths intersect. You've just described the jungle, buddy. But it's like, if you hide it by something too identifiable, then somebody else will find it.
Yeah, like if you hide it by like where you get the water, it's like, okay, but other people are there all the time, so they could find it. Yeah. If you hide it in your bag, people go through your bag. If somebody
else finds your hidden idol, like we know that they do not get to claim ownership of it. That is yours until you surrender ownership of it. But I desperately want to see a scene where somebody finds somebody else's idol. Like, yes, oh, like a Tony or something. I found this idol, and then like, wait, this isn't my idol. Like that is a scene that's desperately missing. From a practical standpoint, though, I don't know how it would work because it's not like it has somebody's name on it once you have it.
Well, no, it would be like Mike was walking with them and they find it, and Mike goes, "Oh, you found my idol, thanks.
I've been looking for that." Oh my god, if that happens, just tears of joy. It'd be like, you thought they couldn't top caking themselves up in fake blood, but they did.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is just like, it's just so funny, also like, you're talking about like what happens if someone finds someone else's idol, because like, it's still their idol unless they surrender it. But how long do you have to lose an idol to surrender that idol? If you have completely lost this, you're like, I have no idea where this is. It's been gone for 15 days.
So somebody gave an exit interview. It might have been Zach this season or previous season, where like, hey, what's something that happened out there that it wasn't captured and all that? And they're like, I found an old fake idol. And I feel like that. And I think David, from Millennials versus Gen X, and also on later season. Well, they went back to Fiji, as contestants often do, to visit while they're well fed and stuff. And he was hiding fake idols. And it's like, man, it would be so hard to explain why somebody's finding a fake idol from a previous season, especially
you couldn't do it.
Sequence. It's not the kind of show, but like as a hidden scene. Like I don't think it's something that could work broadcast, but I would also love to see that. And then I'd be all like, yes, I love the fake idol. Because I remind everybody, I love the television of fake idols. I love the fuckery and the rat fucking that goes with fake idols. I just don't think they hold strategic value, except now in the modern Survivor, where all the rules of the idols have changed, I suppose.
Yes.
All right. And any other thoughts about the Beware advantage and Daniel and Mike not being able to find him?
No, I think we covered those pretty good.
It's smooth sailing here. So another thing that happened over in Body is that they, 2 people and I think half a tree capture a single hermit crab, which I'll agree that seemed like to be a pretty big hermit crab.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want to be pinched. So, and this is where we learn that Hai is vegan and a little difficult nowadays. What are your thoughts on that scene?
Yeah, I mean, my thought in the moment was, people that are vegan have succeeded at the show before, but that's when the show gave them rice and you could eat rice. So your diet was rice and fruit. And then, if you get rewards later, there'd probably be some more stuff. Without rice, your diet is just fruit. Like, what are you eating out there? Like, I have no idea. And so Hai's decision makes complete sense because this is not what he thought he was signing up for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think some people were like, see, that's why you can't be vegetarian. Or it's like, man, it's been a storyline on this show since season 2.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of it. And they've proven that, yeah, you can get through this. But there's just always been, as you say, like other food sources. Sometimes it was like, beans instead of rice, but similar,
sure.
Non-meat options. But yeah, no, in this one, there's not going to be a lot. There's going to be, coconuts and all that. And we should also remind, as I said earlier, these areas have been pretty well strip mined by previous contestants, including a season that was like not even
a week earlier
at this point.
Yeah.
I do think that like sometimes they just like throw some coconuts that we bought from the store. But yeah, so that's tough. And I do think it's an extra tough. Is why his decision was completely understandable. Now I do think people might be going too far in saying it's unfair to him that like he came in with this expectation. Man, all of them came in with the expectation that there was going to be rice. Whether you eat meat or not, you thought that there was going to be rice or some equivalent. So yeah, it's tough. Now I suppose knowing that, would he still have chosen to go out there? Because I think it has established that if this is the way that it is going, I don't know that you can successfully do this kind of Survivor with swearing off like a prominent food source like that.
Yeah, and that's the thing that to me that I don't know if it's unfair, but it also is like I don't like the fact that they're not providing rice, and this is just another piece of evidence to that effect. So I want them to provide rice. Maybe not as much as they do in previous seasons, but like I think they should.
Yeah, I think they need to give some more, just because, frankly, less about this particular situation and more just I want some level of sustenance so that they make smarter decisions. Basically that's all. Again, I still want them to be really hungry and the deprivation and all of that. That is a key element to the show, but it doesn't need to be that much. Again, unless like there's other plentiful food sources, but there aren't. As I just said, this isn't a huge area of Fiji. And they've filmed many shows here. Sometimes I think international seasons might also. I don't know. What would I know?
I mean, and the thing is, they've done 39 days for so long. They have it well calibrated as to like how much food to give people. Mm-hmm. They're still calibrating this many days and how much food to give people. And so there's a real potential for them to kind of err on one side or the other. And, that's like the other reason why I don't really see, like, I would like them to go back to 39 days, though I have some worry they're not going to, is just that, like they have this calibrated, they have this decision down, like mess with the other parts of the game. Like this is one that you have down pretty well.
Yeah. Or, we've done just do less if it's going to be 26 days.
Yeah.
A thought I did have during like when Hai is kind of struggling with this decision is that it really does show that like being choosy with the kind of food you eat is a bit of a privilege, and a privilege like most people can have, right? Yeah. Because most people have access to choice. He didn't, right? And I don't want to make this like some kind of anti, vegetarian, vegan screed. Like any kind of choosiness, it's when you have barely any sustenance, then you really can't turn down what little sustenance you have. And exactly. I guess one thought I had is, hey man, I suppose I have one survival skill, and that I'll eat anything. There's nothing that I won't eat. Which I suppose that one
Balut?
points to a bit of my
Um,
part because there's no medical things that I can't eat.
Okay, I was gonna say, are you saying right now that you'd eat balut? Is that what you're telling
Absolutely,
me?
I would if I'm
Okay.
hungry. Sure. Like
Yeah,
there's things I don't want to eat. And again, in my life now, I get to choose. Just like again, for most people, veganism is a choice you can make fairly easily. There are many options, but in an environment like that, I don't know that you can. Now,
Yeah.
I believe I already said her name. Why did I forget it? Last season, she hummed a theme.
Shan.
Yeah, Shan. Okay, I kept thinking Chanel, but that's not it. But Shan is good enough for me. Um, she, I think, yeah, she kept to her vegetarian.
Wait, hum the Survivor theme. Oh wait, are you
No,
thinking about?
her own villain theme?
Oh no, yeah, that's Shan. Yeah, sorry. Yes, okay.
Oh yeah, there's a Chanel this season. I'm going all over the place.
Yeah,
Shan last season did not eat meat throughout.
correct.
But I also think that maybe she could have stood too, like, yeah, sure, her game did like take a bit of a tailspin. And I think that's just so I think, and Hai doesn't know that, but I think that's it. It's like there is a level of food that you require. And given that environment, I don't know if you can turn down what's available.
Yeah, no, and I think I agree with that too. Yeah, I mean, like, and as you said, like, being picky or choosy about food, it's not just about being like vegetarian or, it's like, if you're someone who survives on fries, you're going to have trouble out there too.
Yeah, there's not going to be a whole lot of those,
No,
if you're somebody, yeah, again, like gluten free, but not for medical reasons, yeah, these are choices you can make in our world. Oh, I'm paleo or whatever. Out there, like in an environment like that, which I should note, like it's not a level that like a lot of people do, but there are some people with certain level of food uncertainty. You often just got to eat what you can.
Yes,
it's just a thought that I saw, and I thought it was good the way that the show handled it. They showed that Hai, was struggling with it, but I do think he made the right decision.
I did think his tribe's reaction was a little weird. They were like a little too excited for him to eat that hermit crab. They were like, "Yay!" And I was like, I don't think that's the right reaction here. But okay.
Yeah, I mean, it could be, their feeling of trying to be supportive. It could be that it's like, oh, good. We're not going to have like a what otherwise a valued tribe member waste away.
Yeah.
And it also could be that thing that like all of us omnivores, not all, but many omnivores do, which is, constantly act superior to vegans out of a defensiveness that we feel they're judging us. I don't know what it is, but this probably brought out some of that, like in comments elsewhere and stuff. It's like, see, this is why you should eat meat. It's like it's a fine choice for other people.
Yeah. Right.
There's not enough vegetables or anything or non-meat options for him to eat, and he can't plan for there to be any. Which, I mean, there's not going to be unless they win a bunch of challenges and then you supplement that way. But if you're constantly starving, how many challenges are you really going to be winning?
One thing I actually do wonder is like how many edible plants they have around them that they just don't know are edible. Yeah. That might be another thing too.
Yeah,
like maybe like if you're planning to go on with no rice, you study that.
Yeah, if you're an expert on these things, then you can, get by that privilege. But for most of us, it's like, I know where I buy my food, so it's like, and for the most part, meat is easy. You just cook it and then eat it.
It's moving around. You can tell if it's meat.
Yeah. And from there, the only restriction is there are things the show won't let you kill.
Yes.
But there's not things that, if you eat could poison you, which is, obviously.
Oh, no, there are some animals that if you eat, they could poison you.
Well, I don't know if they're out there catching blowfish or anything.
Fair enough. No fugu for them.
Yeah. All right. Let's go over to Ika. And not much out of that tribe this week, which is fine. We got a lot of it out of them last week. Yeah. But we did see Drea attempt to form a women's alliance. And I'll go first on this one because, she starts talking like, hey, yeah, women's alliance, why not? And then she's like, and I have this extra vote. And I'm like, did too much. You already have a 3-2 advantage. You don't need to reveal this extra thing. And you're shaking your head, you're agreeing with me.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like it was, like, sure, get them, talk to them, talk about a women's alliance. Why not? At worst, you go back to the guys and you vote out Tori,
Mhm.
what does it hurt? I also thought that like her pitch was like, well, what do you think about this? To Tori, and Tori was like, it's like, oh yeah, yeah, like no, I like it. And it's like, well, it's like, well, like why didn't you like, really like support it or whatever? And she's like, no, like I want to do what you want to do because I was on the I'm on the bottom. To tell me what to do is like a perfectly valid reason to be in support of something.
Yeah. Although Tori's first reaction was, "Is this the first time you're thinking of it?" It's like,
Yeah. Well, look, Tori's got some.
Maybe that's her therapist's way of speaking now. But yeah, no. Once she did that, like, why does everybody on this show always have to just tell people? And I get like, with Mike, it's like, I need somebody to help me think. But again, did not work. And also, that was the second person you told. You don't think Jenny could help you out with this? I guess we don't know the sequence. That was the sequence
we
that
don't
was presented to us. But yeah, it is. And I wonder if I have a feeling the part of it is like Trey just really wanted to tell people. She wanted them to know that she is really awesome at the Survivor stuff. But it's like, I think she might have had some success until she's like, but in this alliance of three, clearly I'm the superior one because I have 2 votes to you. Again, if it was 3-3, if it was on the Vati tribe, they're doing that, then it makes perfect sense. Yes. So we form this alliance, and don't worry, they won't outnumber us because, and then they can all be like, yeah, we have an extra vote. But here it's like, you already outnumber the dudes 3-2. This is information this alliance does not require in order to make this decision.
Yeah. No, yeah, I completely agree. And it just, right, as you said, like it paints a target on her back, and it goes from being like, a move where she's kind of gathering allies to like, then now she's standing out as someone that people are like, do I actually want to work with her or not? And it, like I go back, like I was saying like earlier, like, oh, you want to be on the side of the person with the idol because then that can be played on you or for your alliance. And that's true of an extra vote too. But like, you don't, this is not the time to reveal that. There's a better time. So
yeah, it's not the opening salvo, and it's only useful a bit. And also, it's like, you're just feeling it out because like it wasn't just that she said she had an extra vote. It's like, I risked my vote. It's like, man, you're a lot. Again, like it's like,
yes,
you're telling us how dangerous you are. Not just that, like, I found this thing, but it's like I went all out and got stuff. And assumingly, she probably lied to them when she got back from.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, now you're lying to us too. Like, it's just 2 episodes in. I think Drea is a great presence. I have not yet thus far been impressed by her decision making, which could also help with her presence. And you don't have to be good at Survivor to be good at being on Survivor.
Look, one thing that we were commenting on last season all the time is that a year, like after being in quarantine for so long, these people are desperate for a social interaction with people they don't know. We also saw that with Marianne having a crush on Zach, and how often is she getting a chance to date during quarantine? So yeah, I mean, I think like there is some of this is, you're right, like that you want the acknowledgement that you're playing the game well, especially early on when no one knows who's playing the game well, especially when you haven't been to tribal. No one knows who's doing well at this point, but you've done something and you just want to like tell people that you've done something.
Do you imagine anyone like finding somebody and dating during quarantine? That just seems impossible.
Yeah, I don't know how you would do that. It's like it's mind-boggling in a way.
Yeah.
So.
And absolutely, this could also be a COVID thing. I do wonder like what the fallout from these 41, 42 is going to be, because there's just so much sharing of information of everything. Will people start to climb up, or is it just like that's just the way it is now? Because like I was listening to Tyson's podcast with Boston Rob, because of course I was, and they talked about like that's a big hallmark of the modern game, is that like you tell somebody something, they're gonna tell everybody. Like every piece of information is shared, and it's right down to like your own shit, man. It's like even my stuff, people have to tell it out there, and the reaction almost always now seems to be uh-oh, instead of, as you talked about earlier, awesome. Now it's like, I want to have all the things. I don't want anybody else to have any of the things.
Right. And so if the reaction that people are having to advantages when they're told them is, oh no, that's terrible, they have them, then the lesson that should be learned is don't tell anyone you have an advantage.
Yeah. And obviously, for some of these, and to be fair to some people, the show has designed it so that you can't keep everything secret, right? Whether it's through the phrases or the fact that these things are given in an environment like where other people are there, the amulet one, the ship wheel, which, I mean, why last week I said I don't think I would have gone for the amulet is that it's like I want to have it for myself,
yes,
but I don't want two people I don't know to know that I have it,
Yes. Yeah, because it's not just about having something, it's about controlling who knows, about the advantage. So.
All right. So now we're 2 episodes in. So this doesn't just have to be about this episode. You weren't on the podcast last week. Who's been standing out so far? We've gotten a little bit from everybody, but who are you keying in on, either because you like them or just like they're just an obvious like storyline or presence?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like I like Jonathan and Omar. They're probably my biggest pluses for me. Like, with Jonathan, it's always I like kind of people who differ from what I expect from them. I kind of expected him to be kind of like the asshole meathead, and he's not. Like, he seems like pretty chill. Like someone compared him in our comments to John Hennigan, and I think that's a really good comparison of like someone who came in, you're expecting one thing, and actually just like, oh, I kind of like this guy. He's a lot different than I thought he would be. So like,
yeah, there's a lot of that comments, and it's like maybe all of you guys need to check yourselves. Maybe you just need to stop thinking that everybody who like has been to a gym a few times is like a meanie. Yeah, I'm just saying.
Well, it's not even that. It's like, but the very first thing he says is, "I hold the world record."
Yeah, I know. I love the hyper specificity, and that it is the first thing. Like, hello, my name is Jonathan, and oh, by the way, I have the world record for most pull-ups while holding 100 pounds.
Yes. So, and that's my point about
sure,
him.
This is a Wendy's.
Yeah. Right. Yes, it is. It is the hyper specificity. That's what he lead with. I had a very clear picture in my head, and then like that really hasn't, that aspect of it hasn't come up too much. Or there's been a very knowing aspect of his limitations, which I like. I like when people know their limitations. I really like Jenny. Where one of my favorite scenes so far this season was the triangles. And she's standing there, and then someone goes, "So I got 11," and she's like, "No, you don't."
Or it's like, or I think no, because 11 I think was Jonathan, but I think it was somebody who's like, "Oh, I'm done counting." It's like, there's no way you're done counting.
Yes, that was very funny, and she's explaining how to do it, and whoever
I think it was Mike.
It must have been Mike. Mike was like, "Yeah, I'm not going to be able to help you with this," and she's like, "Okay then." So I really liked her. She seems like very kind of like level-headed. She seems like someone who could actually be good at the game. So like that's my hope for her.
I like her talking about being a city person because it can relate.
Oh, totally.
I mean, you don't even have a car. You're such a city person, right?
That is true. I don't even have a car. I'm such a city person. I like Hai. I like I think Tori so far is an entertaining train wreck. Drea seems good. I kind of like Mike. He's kind of funny, and I like him and Daniel's dynamic. Even though Daniel seems to both be working against and with him, like there's something to like the way that like Mike interacts with people that I actually find very funny and charming. And the way that Daniel was also someone who I think I came in thinking that he'd be one way, and he's been a little different than that too.
Like Daniel's like reading about like, oh, that's a fun twist, because at this point he's just an observer, and Mike's like, no, when it's you.
Yes, that was a great moment of the episode. Like that's I thought Daniel would be like the super fan who was always talking about Survivor, and he does a little bit, but not to the extent that I thought he'd be, and I've actually quite enjoyed him so far. So I mean, I'm liking a lot of people.
This episode.
Yes. Bad Joe, just like me.
Yeah, people can relate. I mean, for all those people, I definitely liked what we've gotten so far. Stand out so far, like the only star in my mind so far, but there's still potential, is Marianne. Like she is a big presence. I'm still fine for her to, like, again, it's an interesting dynamic If she left next episode, I'd be like, okay, we had enough, because it's just so much. That's why, like, I wasn't sure if she was going home. You know, people would be like, well, she's been featured a lot, and you know, Mariah wasn't, and then we got her personal content, so it's probably her. And it's more like, if you had Marianne and she only lasted 2 episodes, would you give her less content? And I don't believe you would. You know,
No,
like,
you
I think,
would.
you know, she's gonna get it a lot anyway, the same way JD did, right?
Yeah, as long as Marianne is on the show, Marianne's gonna get a lot of time because of that energy. Like you know, like it's not just about being entertaining. Like 80% of being entertaining on Survivor is just having energy.
But you know, if she leaves, I'll be okay, because again, like, yeah, well, I don't think we'll ever be like, oh man, we didn't get enough. There's enough, you know. It'll also,
I think
lead to,
like
like,
4
the
or 5
outro.
episodes of Marianne will like actually be probably like the perfect amount where it's like you get a lot and then everyone else you're settled into everyone else, and like the gameplay is getting more complicated to where you don't need a huge presence as much anymore.
All right, how are you finding the season so far? I think we kind of touched upon it, but
I mean, you know, just to kind of, you know, hit on it, since I didn't really talk about the premiere, like, you know, I also like this one better than the premiere, but during the premiere, like, I really enjoyed the first hour, and then I thought the second hour kind of dragged a bit, which I think is where you guys were saying too. And so, like, you know, yeah, so far the season's fine. You know, I don't think anyone is like, oh, I love this person, but there's a lot of people I like and have potential. So I'm just kind of like waiting. You know, I'm hoping that something more interesting than straight vote outs come. But in the meantime, like, I'll take the character content of, you know, like some odd couples, some funny things, you know, someone losing an idol, someone covering themselves in fake blood, you know, stuff like that is what's getting me through these first couple episodes.
Yeah, it's been solid. Nothing to get excited about yet, but I'm fine with that from the beginning. And maybe investing more time in the characters will mean, once some of the fireworks start firing, it'll mean more.
Maybe it will mean that we won't be as blindsided when someone wins.
And if that's a correction they're making, good.
Yeah,
because that was the biggest flaw of last season. Was not the winner. This was not her. So nobody misunderstands. It was that, you know, the show once again buried a particular kind of winner. I don't know why I'm being coy. A woman winner. That was it, man. If it's just like, oh well, if they're not entertaining, which you think would be an argument I'd make, it's like, fine, but you don't do that to unentertaining male winners. So as of right now, you know, there's no candidate for that. You know, I can't even be here like guessing, like, oh, who is, you know, the underfeatured, you know, winner of the season.
Right. And the winner doesn't need to be the most featured person of the season. But
honestly, the winner rarely needs to be the most featured character of the season.
But they need to be featured enough that, you know, like, why they won beyond in the moment when they are winning. Like, you need to see.
And I'm proud of everybody
that
deciphered the clues. I just think it would be nice if we didn't need to decipher clues. When it's a woman, because we don't when it's a man. Anyway, that's enough on last season. I'm it's in so far. I'm excited for next week. But I'm not, you know, overly enthusiastic. There's some of those takes, and hey, man, just doing it for you like that, great. There's characters you're into that way. I just people just go on wild swings. There's so much optimism at the beginning of the Survivor season. After an off season of saying that this is the worst produced show, and what you really need to do is watch the international versions, which apparently isn't good right now.
Apparently it's quite bad right now.
The vibe I'm getting, which I don't understand, because I thought that was the true Survivor, and they're the ones that know how to edit.
Right. Well, apparently you know, when you're having, you know, like 2 episodes a week that are over an hour and it's a bad season, can't shine that turd.
That'd be tough, man.
That'd be real tough.
Just so everybody knows, like, comfort, we're in a new season. I clearly still have no trouble talking about things that I have no clue what I'm talking about.
We're back, baby.
I'm talking about International Survivor. Maybe later on, even though I'm trying not to, I'll go in on Edgic. It doesn't matter how many L's I take on that and how embarrassing they are. I'll be like, you guys don't know what you're talking about, even though it is I who does not know what he's talking about, because I try not to engage on that level. But hey, I have a microphone in front of me, so I'm going to say my stuff. Anything else?
Nah, that's it.
All right. So if you have things to say about this, and just this, there's a different, actually, or International Survivor, you can do that on our website at purplerockpodcast.com. Just keep the international ones, the Australian ones, to the posts that are still happening every week, thanks to our international team. You can share ideas with us on Twitter. The show is at Purple Rock Pod. I am at Purple Rock Andy.
I'm at Purple Rock Matt.
You're like the only one that actually posts tweets about the show anymore, it seems like.
Yeah, maybe I should stop doing that. But then why would I even have a Twitter? So
Literally, it's the only reason. Like and subscribe and all of that. And I'm gonna hit some theme music.